If you're working harder than you have ever worked, but the numbers still are not moving the way you want them to, or they are moving and it still somehow doesn't feel the way you thought it would, ask me how many times per week I hear that one. I want to share something I've learned from over 2,000 hours of one-on-one mindset work with 7 and 8 figure online coaches, founders, and entrepreneurs. The thing that's making you tired, it's not the work. It's how tightly you're holding on to said work. And I get it. That sounds like something a yoga teacher would say. And the first time I heard it, I dismissed it the same way you might be tempted to right now. But here's the thing. I'm sharing this with you because every single client that I've watched break through an actual plateau, the ones who went from not being able to put gas in his car to making $96,000 in a month, the ones who hit back-to-back record months after a 2-year downtrend, the ones who built teams and fell back in love with their business, none of them hustled their way there. They all let go of something first, and the growth came second. So in this video, I'll walk you through what detachment actually is and how you can use letting go to double your business with what feels like half the effort. We'll make it practical, not manifesty, right? But first, I need to show you what detachment really is, because once you understand how it subconsciously controls your behavior, achieving your goals becomes, dare I say, easy. Back in high school, there was a guy in my class. We'll call him Dave, and everybody probably had a Dave in their school. Dave never had issues getting a date. Dave had his own style and stood out from the crowd, but not because he was trying to stand out, because he never even paid attention to the crowd. A ton of people thought Dave was full of himself when really he was detached. And on the other end of the spectrum, every school had one of these guys too. The guy who was almost consistently in the friend zone, always trying hard, always going above and beyond, trying to win the girl over, only to push her further away. He'd go home at night and be obsessing over how amazing she is and how he wished that he could have her as his own. That's attachment. And when we attach ourselves to an outcome and ascribe an emotional weight to it, we are actually identifying with the wanting gap. We are burning it into our subconscious and broadcasting a signal that we actually identify as the person who wants that thing, not the person who has it. And this carries over to business as well. I'm sure you've seen people who seem to be almost too cool about their business, and things always seem to strangely work out for them too. Meanwhile, there are others who are fighting fire after fire after fire, and even if they do reach a goal, it doesn't last for long because they're attached to the wanting gap. And I know what you might be thinking because I hear it on enrollment calls almost every week still. It goes something like this. Chase, my wanting is my edge. Are you trying to take that away and kill my drive? Other possible versions, it's all I've ever known. This is what made me successful. Like, most people think detachment means they need to throw away their dreams of running a $100,000 a month business and live the life of a monk on a mountain somewhere. Like, that's not it. This is the 21st century, and we have fun to have and interest to pay, right? Or at very least, they hear the word and think it's an excuse people who have tried and failed end up using to shelve their potential and end up playing small. They think detachment is a place people go to hide. And I mean, let's be real here. With the interpretations of the word in mind, I get the resistance. Like, you're a driven entrepreneur who knows that you have more potential to tap into. Why would you want to detach yourself from what you're capable of achieving, the business that you're capable of running? Why would you want to hand over that driving force in your heart? Except detachment actually comes from your heart. Attachment, somewhere else. But before we get into that, let me give you the definition that changed how I work with this and that I use with every one of my clients. Detachment is when you can turn emotion-laden struggle into clean and pure effort. You see, struggle is just effort laced with usually negative emotion. Effort is what happens when we detach our self-worth and identity from the outcome or even the output and just show up. Right? I'll say that again. Struggle is effort with negative energy attached. Detachment is a pure flow state, the place of soul-led purpose that most people only dream of. Like, you still care, you still show up, you still write YouTube scripts at 4:30 a.m. on a Saturday. Hi, that's me. Not because it's a weight on your chest needing to get done, so you drag yourself out of bed after your second snooze button and slam 3 coffees before staring blankly into your computer, but because it's something that lights you up to do, like actually lights you up. Attachment frames a story in your head and your body that I need this to work or I am a failure. A story that is actually being created from something deep in your subconscious that most entrepreneurs don't even realize is quietly running the show. Time after time after time when I'm on with clients, they go, oh, I didn't realize that was still in there. Detachment, on the other hand, says, I will give this every piece of me because I know this work is where I am supposed to be. Detachment is the cheat code to the delusional level of trust that every successful 8 and 9 figure entrepreneur that I have met has in the early days of their journey. The trust that as long as you keep going with aligned action, you will end up where you're supposed to be. Detachment is when the weird things start happening in your life. If you're new around here, the etymology of weird is of having the ability to control destiny. Detachment is when abracadabra with my word I create starts actually holding power. Because in detachment, the words uphold the silence instead of betraying it. And when your words start upholding the silence, when they become a vibrational match for the stories in your body, that's when you can truly rewrite reality. Here's where most entrepreneurs don't realize they're doing the opposite of this. Because attachment doesn't feel like attachment. It feels like glorified hustle. Attachment turns every action into a referendum on your identity. Every ad set is a test of whether you're a real CEO. Every sales call puts your worth as a leader on trial. Every end of month report in your Stripe account paints a picture of how much you're worth, or not worth. Attachment isn't just mental, it's physical. That white knuckle grip creates hesitation and uncertainty, and it kills your ability to operate from a place of swift critical thinking. Like, you don't need better tactics to grow your business as an online coach. You need a nervous system that doesn't get crippling stage fright every single time that it needs to make a simple little decision. I mean, why do you think we see so many people outsourcing their agency to mentors? Then they get the wrong answers for their business. Attached entrepreneurs make decisions that deep down they can feel are betraying their heart and keeping them from their goals. They hold on to certain offers too long. They avoid the hard conversations with team members. They keep enrolling poor fit clients just to prove that they can make money. And they hold on to old identities because to let go of them feels like a form of death. But it's not death. It's evolution. Letting go of the stories that created this sense of attachment is what actually allows you to step back into yourself for maybe the first time in your life. And here's the thing, like, credit where credit is due. This attachment may have served you in the past. It got you started. It was likely born out of the thing you were running away from. And it was a fuel source that burned hot for the time when it was useful to you, right? Something like not having money when you were young, needing to prove yourself to your parents, a coach, a sibling, an ex. The list goes on. But that fuel source was created by a story that, while you might cognitively understand what happened and how it affected you, like, most people are just completely blown away when they realize how much of that story has been locked in their body. That's why I like to say, like, yeah, you understand it. You're standing under it. The emotions stored in your tissue and the meaning burned into your brain have created a familiar uncomfortable that your system recognizes as home. So even if it comes with a load on your shoulders, weight on your chest, or pit in your stomach, it's yours. And how dare I let go of something that I think is mine? I thought I had this game figured out in 2021, except I was still clinging to a business I knew in my bones had run its course, clinging to the identity of brick and mortar gym owner. And it took the sudden death of my 27-year-old brother for me to realize that in that state of attachment, I had been so tied up in my business that I had missed family holidays, birthdays, and other events in the name of being an entrepreneur. When I saw those pictures from events I had missed, I pulled the plug on my gym and promised myself I would only operate in a detached way moving forward. I wouldn't attach my self-worth to the businesses I was building. So if that's what attachment is, let me show you the exact places I see it hiding in entrepreneurs I work with. And I'm willing to bet that this might get uncomfortably familiar. Cool, you're in the right spot. I'll describe some people here. And if you're at all an entrepreneur still running on dirty, attached fuel, this might feel like staring into a mirror. Like staring into a mirror when you're on mushrooms. Like, oh wow, I actually see myself, and it's uncomfortable. There's my launch is my dopamine coach. Like, they've decided, usually before the launch goes live, that if they don't hit a specific number, something is conclusively wrong with them or their business. So the entire launch gets quietly contaminated by that pressure. Their emails read this desperate tone. Their sales calls are more than forced. The clients on the other end can feel something is off, but they just can't quite name it. What they're feeling is the grip. Usually born out of a story where they were only noticed or praised when they have big standout achievements. Then there's the I am who I am and that doesn't change coach. They know their offer has run its course. Like, they've known for a while. The market even told them. But pivoting means admitting the last 2 years were a wrong turn. And their ego has decided it cannot survive that admission because most people would rather be right than have what they say they want. So they keep delivering something they no longer believe in to clients who can feel the absence of belief. They are stuck, but they call it loyalty. And what it is loyalty to a story where someone they trusted told them they needed to be a certain way. And now instead of authoring their own story, they have that narrative on repeat in their head and their heart. There's the validation chaser. This one I see in the onboarding almost every time, and it doesn't always look the same, and the pattern is consistent. They're building the business not for them, but for an audience of one. Usually someone from their past, right? Someone who made them feel like they weren't going to be enough. A parent, a coach, an ex. A version of themselves from 15 years ago who got told to just be realistic. So every win becomes just an argument they were making back to that person. And every setback feels like losing the argument. That's not ambition. That's a wound with a business plan attached to it. The chip on the shoulder story is one that's all too common. And quite honestly, guys, it is the dirtiest of fuels. Then there's the anvil carrier. They got the anvil on their chest and they will not delegate because the weight is the proof. If they are not the one carrying everything, they're not earning it. Rest feels like cheating, and ease feels suspicious. So they'd rather burn themselves completely to the ground before they allow themselves to put anything down. And it's a pattern born from a season in life when they had to be the one to carry it all. And until we find and unwire that narrative, it will continue to pull the strings. Then there's the yo-yo artist. Speaking of strings, attached to yo-yo revenue, secretly needing the crisis because crisis is familiar and consistency feels unfamiliar and unsafe. They have a story running in the background that says, you need to be in danger. How dare you create freedom and stability? Then there's the coach who's attached to the grind narrative. I have to be the one who outworks everyone or I don't deserve it. And that story may have been useful at like 0 to 10K, 0 to 20K. That's now the reason they can't break to 70 or 100K. Somewhere along the way, they learned that their worth was established by grinding themselves to the bone. And now their body is letting that story grind them to dust. Every one of these is a grip. And every grip is the exact thing that the next level is asking them to release. Here's what I have watched happen more than once when a client actually lets go of that grip. I'll start by telling you guys about my buddy Matt. When Matt started working with me, he was grinding, running ads, building funnels, optimizing every piece of the machine. Smart guy, super capable. He had done as much as $40,000 a month, which is a real number, but he was sliding backwards and running at a pace that he knew was not sustainable. So what we found when we got into it was that $40,000 number had become the number that proved something. It wasn't just revenue. It was evidence. And every month he hit it, he wasn't relieved. He was immediately afraid that the month might not happen again. If it doesn't happen again, then it doesn't have the proof. We worked on the story underneath the number, what he was actually trying to prove and to whom. We found the chip on his shoulder and released it. He stopped needing $40K to mean what it had meant. He kept working, same hours roughly, different internal state though. And within a few months, he was at $96,000 in a month. The $96,000 did not create the detachment. The detachment preceded and created space for the $96K. Or there's Brooks, another seasoned coach who came to me doing about $16K a month. I mean, that's good, right? Except that $16,000 was in a 2-year downtrend after hitting his best month ever at $41,000. Brooks understood funnels, offers, messaging, sales. We barely touched that stuff. What we found, though, were the core stories underneath the surface that had the unbeknownst to him, meaning that he wasn't the guy who could run a business at $40,000 plus per month. So what did? We judiciously ripped out those stories, unlearned the meaning, and released the attachment to them. Within 2 months, he had collected $50,000 in less than 30 days and had back-to-back record months. Downtrend? Reversed. Or there's my client, Brennan, who came to me driving for Lyft to pay his bills, and within 3 months was stabilized at $16,000 a month. Brennan recently made $18,000 in a single day. Or Caitlin, who was on the climb when we started working together and hit $45,000 in a month, but felt spread thin and heavy. In our first month together, she did $62,000 and said that the work we did was instrumental in her being able to be a regulated CEO and operate at that capacity. In every case here, the sequence is the same. They released something first, the numbers responded second. Detachment is not what you practice after you succeed. And anybody who pretends to do it after they make a lot of money is still holding on to something. It usually comes crashing back down. Detachment is the move that makes true success possible, because finally the work is coming from a place that's not leaking half its energy into the grip. So how do you actually start doing this? Because I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, okay, but how do I let go when everything inside of me is telling me to hold on tighter? I'll give you guys the how right now. As we've been going through this, detachment, there's something in your mind. You're thinking about clients, sales, this, that. Let's put it into a sentence. I have a problem with. Pause this video and write that down. If you're driving, don't pause it. Save this for later. Save this video so you can come back to it. I have a problem with. Speak that sentence out loud. What's the strongest emotion? Shame, anxiety, anger, guilt, whatever it is, sadness. Cool. 1 is low, 10 is high. How big is that emotion? Where in your body is that emotion? Now, that emotion at that scale of 1 to 10, in that spot in your body, when's the earliest time you can remember feeling that? That memory, or that list of memories that just came up, is the first layer in creating true detachment. Every new thread that we pull on can create another layer of memories. You have decades of stuff in there. That's how we pull on threads, though. That's how we rewrite reality. And when we do this, when we go through this process, the first thing most of my clients notice when they actually start practicing this, when they lean all the way in, the first thing they notice is not that they're making more money. It's quiet. silence, even. They've described it as a deafening level of silence, or quiet as fuck. That's the language they use, because they release the stories they were trying to pretend they weren't carrying. They put the anvil down, the one they had been so convinced they needed to carry that they forgot it was optional. And from that place, things become possible that plain as day were not possible before. Like, they can say no to a client and not spiral for 3 days afterward. They can end an offer that isn't working without it being a referendum on their worth. They can launch something without knowing exactly how it's going to go and be genuinely okay with not knowing. And they can be present with the people they love without a part of their brain still on a sales call that ended 4 hours ago. And then, almost like a side effect, not the point, the numbers go up. Because finally, the work is landing somewhere. There's no leak. The energy that was going into the grip is available for actual work now. And the actual work coming from that place is better. People can feel the difference, even if they can't name it. I'm not asking you to believe me, though. I'm asking you to try it. Start with the sentence that you're holding right now, the one about the launch or the month or whatever it is. Find that sentence, the I have a problem. That's the door. And if this video stirred something in you, there's a natural next layer. Because the moment you actually start practicing detachment, you stop being the person who has to chase clients. You start becoming the person clients chase. And that is not a marketing tactic. That's a frequency shift. And I made a whole video on that one, on how to become so magnetic in your energy that the right clients start finding you without you having to push for them. So click this video here, wherever it is on the screen, because if this one helped you, that one is the natural next step. I'll see you there.